Okay, welcome all cats. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us this evening for our online career workshop hosted by the University of Alumni Career Lab and Professional Development. I'm Cedric Steptoe, Director of the Alumni Career Lab, and I'm broadcasting live from the beautiful UA campus here in Tucson, Arizona. I'm excited for tonight's webinar, Ace the Interview and Win the Job with Miss Lisa Andrews. A resume or networking contact may get you the interview. However, the interview is where you win the job. Interviewing, like any skill, needs to be practiced in order to master it. In this interactive webinar, you will come away with valuable interviewing skills, tricks, and tools and confidence to help you ace the interview and win the job. This webinar is a part of a free alumni career webinar series from the Alumni Career Lab that provides monthly conversations with experts about a variety of industry and professional development topics. Today's presentation is being recorded and will be archived on the Alumni Association website for you to access on demand. You can find the link to that and more at arizonaalumni.com/careers. Questions are welcomed at any time during tonight's event. Actually, for tonight's event, we would like it for you just to type your questions into the chat box, and then Lisa will address those at the end of her presentation. If you're on Twitter tonight, please tweet at us talking about the webinar or other career topics using the hashtag HireACat. We love to hear from you. Now, a little bit about Lisa. Lisa Andrews is a professional career coach with over 20 years of experience in the higher education, nonprofit, and consulting space. She has coached thousands of individuals from nearly every industry on their career development. In 2016, she launched Look Forward Career Coaching, her private career coaching business. Mrs. Andrews has a BS in psychology from Elizabethtown College and an MS in counseling and human relations from Villanova University and a PhD in higher education from the University of Arizona. She is also a certified career counselor through the National Career Development Association. I want to give a huge thanks to Lisa for taking the time to be with us and share with us her expertise and with UA alumni tonight. Now I'll turn things over to Lisa, who will tell you a little bit more about herself and walk you through her presentation. So Lisa, I'll turn it over to you at this time. Take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Cedric, for having me. It is a great honor to be presenting tonight. The U of A most definitely holds a special place in my life. In fact, as you just heard, I did graduate with my PhD in higher ed in 2004. And at that time, my graduation speaker was none other than Steve Kerr. Yes, Steve Kerr, longtime U of A player and coach of the Golden State Warriors. Go Warriors. At the time, though, he was actually a little nervous about speaking. So he asked then President Dr. Likens for some advice. And this is what Dr. Likens told him. Be yourself, tell your story, and keep it under 10 minutes. And that is the advice he was given by Dr. Likens. And if you want to Google his speech, it was extremely inspirational. There were no tortillas thrown during Steve Kerr's speech. There were during other speeches, but he said, hey, where are my chimichangas? I want them landing on the stage. I mean, I was right in the front row, front center, because I'm an Andrews now. So I was right in the front. He was right there. And it was amazing. And so please Google his speech. It was so inspirational. You will love it. He got a standing ovation. So anyway, but I think that, this advice is also applicable to interviewing. You definitely want to be yourself. You will be telling stories. And you don't want to go on and on and on when telling your story. So what is our agenda for tonight? So first of all, preparation, what to do before the interview. Action, what you need to know to ace the interview and win the job. And it's all about winning. Just keep that in the back of your mind. It's all about winning. Follow up. So the interview does not end until there is a job offer. It may sound strange, but we'll get to it. We're going to have questions and answers, and then information on contacting me after the webinar if you like what you hear, and I hope that you do. Okay, here we go. preparing for the interview. And you do need to be prepared. Yes, you do. For example, know yourself and what's on your resume. Know the industry and the company inside and out. Know about who will be interviewing you. Know the job description. And finally, know the location and do a dry run. So let's unpack all of that. Know yourself. So where do you see yourself working? Envision your future workplace. What kind of positions appeal to you most? What are your unique abilities? Let me go back. So this is kind of part interview prep, part step one of the career development process, which is to know what you want. But that's the story for another webinar, so let's press on. So, know the company and the industry. What does that mean? I want you to become a super fan of the company and the industry in which you're interviewing. What that means is that you just have to love this company, okay? Become a super fan, if that makes any sense to you at all. I hope it does. You need to read trade publications and newspapers regularly. And again, it's industry specific, but I'm just going to say, do it. Read up, do your homework, right? Attend industry conferences or events. If you're a student, there are student rates. You can go very cheaply, or there are local events. Just look it up. Here in DC, I'm sitting 10 miles south of the Capitol right now, and there are professional associations exist for every single industry, and quite literally, most of them are here in DC. The National Association of XYZ is probably here, someplace. They all have conferences. They all have events. They all have networking events, which is where I met Cedric, which is how I'm doing this webinar. So you got to put yourself out there. Scour the company website. And when I say scour, I mean scour. I want you to click on every single link you can find, anything you can find. But that's not all. I want you to look for press about the company, okay? Now, we're not talking fake news and all that stuff here, but guess what? A librarian can actually help. Now, I know there's Google and all that stuff, and that's fine. But if you don't know how to do this, looking for press about a company, see a librarian. This is their job. A librarian can help you. They can take you to the old-fashioned microfilm machines or microfiche machines or whatever and show you, hey, this is what the press is saying about the company, and then you make the call as to whether this is someplace you want to work. Who will be interviewing you? Search LinkedIn as well as the company website for their bio. Again, I know all it takes is one Google search, and by the way, they're doing the same to you, so you need to do it to them. What is the leadership structure of this company? This is important because you kind of want to know what you're getting yourself into, don't you? I mean, what's the hierarchy, right? We'll get to that. And finally, how does the position you're interviewing for fit into the organization? And this is actually a hint of a question you might ask your interviewer, because interviewing is a two-way street. So, interview preparation. Review the job description thoroughly. How many of the requirements do you meet or exceed? What are some areas of weakness you will have to explain? And yes, they will be looking for your weaknesses. This is my least favorite question because who wants to admit a weakness to anyone? I know I don't. So I always say my weakness is dark chocolate. But seriously, everyone has weaknesses, but the reality is you will have to explain why you don't meet the qualification they're asking you for. So just be prepared for it. Do a dry run to the interview site. Don't be late. Now, I know life happens. However, if you just do a secret dry run, you can avoid this problem. Purchase a conservative interview suit and have it tailored if necessary. Now, wait. Before you say, oh my goodness, I don't have an $1,000 Italian suit ready to go. Don't worry, please. I'm not advocating for Italian suits, although they are beautiful. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars. However, you do need to look the part unless told otherwise, okay, for the interview. Now, there are exceptions to this rule, and I'll give you an example. My nephew, who is from Tucson, interviewed with a company. I won't say who they are, but they told him, do not come to the interview in a suit. We will not hire you. You come in jeans and a t-shirt. That's how we dress on the job. That's how we want you to dress for the interview. That is an absolutely 100% true story. He did get the internship. He took a different job. That's another story. Anyway, some environments are casual, so, know your audience, but it's always best to dress for the job you want and not the job you have, okay? Carry as little as possible with you into the interview and leave your phone in the car unless it's hot. And I know in Tucson today, I think Cedric said earlier it was about 110 degrees in the shade. So we don't want anyone's phone to fry. We don't want that. However, we also don't want our phone to beep, ring, or otherwise make any other noises during the interview because that's bad. That's called a distraction, and you want to be the main attraction, not your phone. So, enough said about that. You should also have something to write with and something to write on so that, and it's okay to have a little pad folio, portfolio, legal pad, whatever. It's okay to write down the questions you have for them, and it's certainly okay to take notes. And by the way, that might impress them that you're actually taking notes during the interview. And finally, get a good night's rest. You want to be at your very, very best. If your interview is first thing in the morning, do something fun. You're going to be nervous. Nerves are natural. Believe me, I'm a theater person and I have horrible stage fright. That is the true story. But as soon as the lights hit me, I used to be backstage. As long as I knew my first line and I'm backstage panicking, as soon as I walked out on stage and the lights hit me and I said my first line, I was okay. You will be too. Okay, so at the interview, you're finally at the interview. Here we go. Again, please plan to arrive at least 15 minutes before the interview is scheduled to start. And there's no harm in being there early. Just bring something to entertain yourself if you have to wait. Again, though, if it's hot, keep the air conditioning on or something. Again, if you do the dry run, you'll know how long it takes to get there and so forth, so you can avoid all these problems. But you'll have your phone, except in the interview, of course. So just bring something to entertain yourself. Greet everyone you meet courteously with a firm handshake, not the death grip, but also not the dead fish. We all know what that is. Eye contact and a smile. And a little tip for you. You must remember their name. And a little trick is repetition. Okay, if you're learning anything, repetition is key. A new language, whatever. Interviewing is a skill. So what you want to do is shake their hand, look into their eyes, repeat their name silently 3 times in your head to remember it as you are looking at them. And don't forget to smile. And the reason I say this is because every single person you meet will be judging you and gossiping about you after you leave. So be nice. I'm talking about the janitor, whoever you come in contact with, they're all going to talk behind your back after you leave. True story. It happens. Trust me. I've been there. But Having said all that, be ready for any last-minute changes in scheduling or personnel. Expect the unexpected. I have actually been on interviews myself where I was 15 minutes early and my interviewers were horribly late. To me, this was kind of a red flag, actually. I thought, do I really fit here? Because I kind of like to be on time. So during the interview, topic areas you'll be asked to discuss. And what are those? Your skills and traits, your technical skills and experience, and in some cases, behavioral or situational questions. So let's unpack all of those. Skills and traits. Possible questions. Okay, now, I'm not a clairvoyant. However, I have coached a lot of people on interviewing, and I do know some things about what they might ask you. And the first one is usually, tell me about yourself. And as we say in Texas, or they say in Texas, I'm in Virginia, if you've done it, it ain't bragging. An interview is not the time to be shy. Know who you are and be able to talk about it. They are not looking for your life story. Remember, keep it short. What they really want to know may be what brought you to this point. And it's okay to brag just a little bit. It's okay. Know and be ready to elaborate on your strengths and your weaknesses. So like I said earlier, you know, it's okay to have a weakness, but what you want to do is turn it into something positive. Think positively. Very important. Like me with the dark chocolate. Seriously, I had a piece of dark chocolate before this. I did. It's my weakness. So what do I do to counteract that? I go to Zumba class. I love to dance. So I turned it around. And you can do this in an interview as well. So yeah, you know, you just turn something that could be seen as negative and make it a positive. I'm a procrastinator. So to counteract that, I have a planner where I write everything down and then I just do it. Explain why you want the position. You will be asked and you need to know there is stiff competition for jobs. I don't know where all of you are located, but I know in DC, it's stiff competition. So if you want to win the job, you have to ace the interview, just like the title says. You need to express how you differ from the competition. And again, the title of the webinar says it all. You need to talk about major career achievements and milestones, but wait, don't panic. If you don't have these yet, like if you're a new graduate, just pick something from your personal life, like a big achievement in sports. It's transferable, no worries. It's okay. Everything is okay. Another thing, do you work better independently or on a team? This goes back to work environment and fit. You know, if the organization believes, hey, you know, we're all big one happy family here, and that's not you, well, then it may not be the right fit. Just like a little clue. And last but not least, some possible questions. How do you handle stress? Well, how do you handle stress? You know, work environments have stress, like deadlines, travel, this, that. Life has stress. How are you going to manage all of this? Let's move on to technical skills and experience. The technical skills and expertise you will be asked about will vary depending on your industry. For example, what computer languages do you know? But sometimes you may get behavioral or situational questions. Again, this is industry specific. I know in the consulting industry, for example, these are big. And the way you answer them is using the STAR method. So just write a big star on the piece of paper you're writing on right now. I know you're all taking notes and everything on everything I'm saying. Use the STAR method when answering: situation, task, actions, and results. So an example of a behavioral situational question is, tell me about a time when you had a complex project to complete. How did you do it? Here's the answer using the STAR method. Well, my supervisor, what was the situation? My supervisor asked me to create a multi-year strategic plan for my department. Oh, really? Okay. The task, I researched the company's financial statements and past strategic plans to inform my work. I brought my team together and did a brainstorm on what we needed to accomplish in the next 2 to 4 years. I split the writing between several team members and later regrouped to finalize the plan. Result? After carefully reviewing the plan my team and I designed, I presented it to my supervisor, and it was successfully implemented by the company. I'm proud to say many of the suggestions we made are being used to this day after my departure from the company a year ago. Ta-da! There's your answer. All right, turning the tables. Now remember, interviewing is a two-way street. You are interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. You must have questions to ask of the interviewer. I mean, I hope this is obvious, but you know, if it isn't, some of the questions you may ask them could be, you know, what do you most like about working here? What's the culture of the organization? Whatever you want to know. Remember, it's a two-way street. So ask questions. You must. If you have no question to ask, that's a problem. They're going to think, gee, no questions? That would shock me. Because asking questions shows your real interest in the company. And I'm going to tell you a little question that I always ask in interviews, and it sets the person back in their chair every single time, and that is this. What is the first thing you need for me to do when I arrive? I'll just let you think about for a second. What is the very first thing you need for me to do when I arrive? But salary is off limits. Yeah, sorry. Let the interview bring up the salary topic. But you should know what the average salaries are for comparable positions in your geographic area and company type. If you are given a number, never say, okay, because guess what? You just accepted their offer. Instead, kind of sit back in your chair and say, that's all. If you are asked to give a number, what I want you to do is give a range. Anywhere between $5,000, $10,000, let's say. You've done your research, so you kind of know what the average salaries are, and say you're willing to negotiate. Your range should be based on your current salary plus approximately 10%. And this is actually if you're interviewing for a more advanced position. This is not entry-level position. So if you know, those of you out there who are interviewing for an entry-level position or a position in which you have no experience whatsoever, it's certainly not necessarily smart to ask for 10% above what you're currently making, and so on. So, but that's a whole other webinar, so let's just press on to follow up. Yes, you must. You must follow up. Be sure to ask what the timeline is for hiring the position. Gauge your follow-up time by the timeline you are given, but the best follow-up call is made within about a week to 2 weeks of your interview if you're given a business card and a contact to call, which, if you don't already know, ask for one, ask for business cards, collect them. Just make a big collection, put it in your Padfolio, ask for their business cards. Yes, do it. And always, 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 always send a thank you note the day of or after your interview. Email is okay, but letters are better. I've seen it happen. Now, I know we live in the technological age where email is immediate and they get it right away, and you're so wonderful because you followed up right away. But when's the last time you checked your mailbox and a letter came that wasn't a bill, an actual letter on stationery with a stamp, somebody licked it and put it in the mailbox and sent it to you? When's the last time that actually happened? It's pretty rare, isn't it? So sometimes what I would do is sit in my car where it was cool, like in a parking garage or whatever, and write my thank you notes right after the interview. If I knew I went first, let's say they were interviewing 3 people, I knew I was first, I wrote them in the car, had stamps with me, and I dropped them off at the nearest mailbox. And I'll give you a little tip. The U.S. Postal Service is a little bored right now, actually, because they're getting shut down by a lot of people, you know, FedEx and all that stuff. So it has to be there yesterday, right? Amazon.com. I know it does for me. But anyway, the mail travels pretty fast. I can get a letter to Tucson from Washington, D.C. basically in like 3 days. It's amazing. I send my mother-in-law a letter, and she gets it before I even realize I sent it. So the mail is moving pretty fast because the competition is tough, just like the competition is pretty tough for interviewing. So with all of that, any questions? While you're thinking of questions, I just want to tell you to bear down, win the job, be prepared, do your homework, and for goodness sakes, keep it under 10 minutes.
All right, I'm going to unmute everyone. So if you want to just ask your questions through your microphones, go ahead. If you have a noisy background, please keep yourself muted. Do we have any questions for Lisa?
Hi, I have a question. This is Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Okay, great. I'm curious, like regarding, knowing the company. So I don't have an interview set up because I haven't even applied. But I'm just curious because I can see myself in this situation.
Wait. Time out. I can't hear you, Michelle. Yeah, I can't hear you, Michelle, because I'm just hearing a lot of everybody else.
All right, I'll go ahead and type it in.
Hey, I'm muting,
okay.
I'm muting everyone that's not talking, so you can go ahead and
okay.
say it.
Oh, great, thanks. I was saying I
Okay,
don't have an interview set up because I haven't even applied for this job, but there is a job out there that I'm wanting to apply for. They have a mobile app. They're a web-based cloud company, and that is really not something I'm familiar with. So regarding like learning the company, how much do I need to know about like an app in particular? What would you say, like how would I best prepare for the interview? I mean, my position in and of itself wouldn't have anything to do with using the app, but that is what the company does.
gotcha. So, yeah, I mean, I'm old school. I'm not going to lie. Last week we did a practice and it was a disaster. I'm just going to be straight up with everybody, okay? I write things down. I like paper. I use my millennial for my phone. I just hand him my phone. He knows my passcode. Just do it for me, So technology is challenging. And especially if you're entering a new space and, it's really hard to find out stuff and stuff like that. So my best advice is really just start with Google. Start Googling. Google the company. Gosh, what do we do without Google? I mean, we went to the library. I mean, so it's hard to answer that question, Michelle, because I'm just not. I'm old school. So, but my best advice for the moment is to just Google it and see what you can find out.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
If it doesn't, you can connect with me later.
Okay.
Here's my contact.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Lisa, look like we have a couple questions in the chat box if you want to check them. Are you able to view them? Lisa?
Yes, sorry, I had myself on mute. Sorry about that.
Are you able to view the questions in the chat box from Teresa and Amber?
Oh, Teresa and Amber, I'm trying to do that right now, Steph. I really am. So let me just.
If you just hover your mouse over your screen and click on chat, the box will pop up for you.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okie dokie. Okay. Give me 1 second. See what I mean about technology and me being, whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. Escape. Okay. Oh, okay. There we go.
There you go.
There we go. I see people. Yes, I do. Hello, Michael. I see you. Hello, Jeff. Hi, Tracy's iPhone. Here's the chat. There we go. Okie dokie.
Never going to get as much sleep as you want. That's why you need to make every hour of sleep you do.
When can I ask a question?
You can ask right now, whoever's talking.
Okay. Okay, my name is Tracy. And I'm kind of curious about when you're looking at job descriptions and you maybe have 5 out of the 10 qualifications, but yet it seems like when you think you could do some of those things, you can't get your foot in the door to at least talk to it. How do you get around those few that you can't say yes to yet, but you know you could be trainable?
That is an excellent question, and it's one I've gotten a lot. Now, let me just say, job descriptions are written for people that do not exist. There is absolutely no one in the world. In a job description, they just throw everything in there and the kitchen sink too and hope for the best, right?
Right.
So if you meet at least, I would say, 3 to 4 of the top qualifications, apply. All they can say is no. You know, it is not possible to fulfill every single qualification on any job. They are written for people that do not exist. So don't ask me who writes job descriptions, but I wish I had that job because it's hilarious sometimes. The ones that I've read, at least, including companies that say things that I won't repeat. But anyway, if you've got at least the top 3, go ahead and apply. All they can say is no.
What about if I feel like there are some, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I feel like at the end of the job description, sometimes there's a place where you have to answer a few questions, yes or no, like have you worked with adult students before, etc. And if you click no, I feel like then you just get bumped out completely. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Gosh, see, here we go with technology again. It stinks. So you got to find a worker. You have to find a workaround. And by the way, I have a movie recommendation, Mission Impossible. It's amazing. I went to a screening here in DC last night, an exclusive screening, and it's going to help you, believe it or not. It's going to help you because it's going to give you hope. And it's going to teach you about eye contact too. It's wonderful. You please go see it. That's my little shameless plug for Mission Impossible. It's amazing. And and the reason I say that is because there's always a way around the technology. Okay, there's always a workaround. So if you applied and that question stumped you, then go another way. Go on LinkedIn, try to connect with somebody, try to find somebody who knows somebody. Post something on Facebook, which I just heard their stocks just like plummeted. Poor Facebook, I love it. But and networking is a whole other webinar. But there's always a way around it. And unfortunately, companies are being lazy, quite frankly, and they're using technology to screen people, and it's just not working. And it's not working for them, and they're realizing it. But just find a workaround. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep. You're welcome.
Here we can get to Teresa's question. I think it's a question. It says about the question, what is the first thing for me to do when I arrive? Does that plant a seed of you've hired me, or what is the crux of the question?
Wow, that is a fantastic question, Teresa. Yes, it does actually. Because the whole idea of this webinar, remember the title is Ace the Interview and Win the Job. It's a competition. And if you want to win, it's sort of like that old school book called The Secret, The Law of Attraction. If you put it out there that you already have the job, you're going to get the job. I'm sorry. I mean, you're going to, if you ask that question, I have seen it, the interviewer does not know how to answer that question. They just don't even know. I have seen people, when I ask that question, literally just fall back in their chair and go, I really don't know what I want you to do first, but all I know is I want to hire you. And that actually happened to me, believe it or not. That's why I tell people about that question. That's the question. That's the answer to the question, Teresa.
Thank you. And then the next question is, from Amber, how might the follow-up call go? What would one say or ask?
Amber, that is an excellent question as well. You know, I'm going to go back to bashing technology again. Like I said, email is one thing, but how many times does your desk phone ring? Do you even have a desk phone? You know, it's so uncommon now that what you want to say is, you know, hi, this is Lisa Andrews, and I interviewed with you a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just calling to follow up, calling to ask about the status of my application. Please give me a call at blah, 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 my phone number. Thank you very much. Goodbye. That's what you say. A voicemail is 10 times better than an email, because people get how many emails a day? I don't even know how many I get. That's why I have 18 different email accounts, none of which I can remember the passwords for, but it's not about me, it's about you. So just give them a call, leave them, you have their business card, hopefully they give it to you, ask for it. If you don't ask, you're not going to get. Ask for the business card, call them up, leave a voicemail, write it out. That's what I do, like a script. Just write out what you're going to say and read it with emphasis.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other questions for Lisa?
Oh, my goodness, we have a conundrum from Teresa. Okay. Well, I specialize in conundrums. Congratulations. Let's see. You're interviewing tomorrow. Oh, my goodness. Oh, wow. Okay, for a position at the U of A. And at least 2 candidates will be hired. What's a creative question to pose? One question I'm considering is, what foci will each employee have? Wow. Well, I think that's an excellent question, actually. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Go ahead and ask away. Go for it. You're going to win the job. I just know it. I am clairvoyant. I'm just going to tell you right now. With that question, you got the job. No problem. Go with it. Cedric, I'd really like to share my screen so my contact information is up there. So let me just navigate this technology for just 1 second. And minimize that. Here I am. You can see it, right? Everybody can see it.
No, we can't see it.
Just ignore all the stuff at the top. You can see it. I just want people to know, in case they didn't, you know, I know it's being recorded. I hope I didn't say anything untoward.
You can't see,
Any more questions?
Lisa.
Oh, you can't. Oh, my goodness. Ah.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Here.
Like I said, I'm kind of old school. I'll get there.
There you go,
I'm
Amber.
going to put myself on. Sorry?
No, I was speaking to Amber. I just unmuted her so she can ask a question.
Gotcha.
Lisa, I am the type of person that will go over the entire interview for hours and hours and days in my head and think about all the things that I should have said. With any of these follow-up pieces, is it inappropriate to provide more information, seeing as the interview is never ending, or does that just look really bad?
That's a good question. I wonder if you can repeat it for me, because I must admit I was distracted by the technology of trying to share my screen. So please repeat the question. I'm listening. Thank you.
So something that I do is my brain's constantly continuing to go over the interview and the questions that were asked and what I said.
Right.
And I think to myself,
Right.
I should have said that, or I could have brought up this
Yes.
scenario or this specific
Yes.
example. Is it appropriate to bring that up in any of the follow-up or not?
That's a good question too. In French, I will give you a little French lesson. This is called l'esprit de l'escalier, which means the wisdom of the stairs. And this happens in my personal life all the time. I think, God, I wish I would have said that to my husband. 5 minutes later, I beat myself up. I prepared so well, and why didn't I say this? You know what? It's over with. There's nothing you can do to change the past whatsoever. The only thing you can do, the only thing you really do is live in the moment. But if you want to try to change the future, go right ahead. What you can do is, in your follow-up, you can carefully and thoughtfully say, you asked me about a time when I was stressed out and how do I handle it. I'd like to revisit that question with you right now and give you an example. Does that make sense? So just reframe it. It's over with, it's done with. And all of us ruminate, all of us worry, all of us think, oh, I wish I would have said this. I wish I would have said that. You're a human being, and that's okay. Just let it go. It's over with. Move on to the next thing. And if you don't get the job, it wasn't the right fit. It's no big deal. There's always the next one. You can't beat yourself up. And I say this from experience. I beat myself up over last week's technological meltdown that I had practicing this webinar. And the reality is, here we are, and it went perfectly, and there's nothing else you can do about it. Life happens. So just let it go.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Great question.
Really great question, actually, and a French lesson. You didn't know you were going to learn a little French. L'esprit d'escalier. Seriously, I heard that one time. I never forgot it, because it's like, it's over with. There's nothing you can do about it. Just try to reframe it. That's all.
Here's a question from Jeff. I'll read it to you. I've done some interviews recently as an engineer that is interviewing for the first time after working for 15 years. It drives me crazy that I get no feedback. I'm not sure if I didn't get the job because I'm asking too much for too much salary. Am I not fully qualified, or if I didn't interview well? Any advice on getting more feedback other than not getting the job? I'm still early in the process, but thanks for this presentation. It's been helpful, and I have an interview tomorrow. So any advice on getting
That's another person that's interview tomorrow. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, and again, employers, I hate to bash employers. However, it's just not like the good old days where people communicated, face to face and human being to human being, and they're hiding behind all this technology. And I think I posted an article about this on my LinkedIn profile about it, that there's just, there seems to be so many technology seems to create barriers in front of you where you just never hear anything. It goes into this sort of like black hole, like it went somewhere in the universe, and was it me? Was it you? It's frustrating. I know. I get frustrated as well coaching people through this. And as an engineer, you want to know the result, right? You're an engineer, so you want to know what happened, what's going on. And unfortunately, sometimes you'll just never know. And again, maybe that job just wasn't for you, but there's always another job. And there's always an answer to every problem. You just got to go for the workaround. See the movie. Any other questions? That was a great question. Thank you for asking, and good luck on your interview tomorrow. I really hope you do well.
Yes, we have one more from Michael. The question is, how do you feel with rapid fire questions during the interview? Also, How can I tailor my answers to directly connect with the company's lingo?
Oh, interesting. Wow, that's a great question. All these great questions. Wow. You guys are fine. Why am I even doing this webinar, Cedric? Yeah, how do you, get the lingo? How you get the lingo is to be a snoop, okay? Be an investigative journalist about that company. Talk to people. Go on. There's websites out there. There's one called glassdoor.com. Now, you have to pay for, like, the insider information. I think that's the one, if I'm remembering correctly, where it's a website where there's probably an app, who knows, but I believe it's Glassdoor, where they actually secretly interview people at companies. It's sort of like Yelp for employers, and you can find out, insider information about the company. And it's real interesting reading. Let me just tell you, I've done it on companies I've worked for before, and I'm like, wow, yeah, that happened to me too. Oh my goodness. So be a snoop, be an investigative journalist, learn their lingo, drink the Kool-Aid, whatever they're serving, you're drinking it if you want to, I might say. I'll go back to my nephew. He interviewed with a company, and he wasn't really liking what they were serving, honestly. So he took the internship anyway because it was money. But, this wasn't for him. He just didn't have a passion for it. So he moved on to something else. But, he needed the money. He was an intern. So he was a college student. So, but he learned the lingo pretty quick. And the lingo was, I don't belong here. So that's how you learn the lingo. Snoop around. Ask people.
And then his other question was, how do you deal with rapid fire questions during an interview?
Oh, rapid fire questions. Wow. That's a good question. Take a deep breath and say, I thank you for your question. Give me a moment to think about that. There's nothing wrong with asking for a moment. There's no reason to have this sort of, gosh, I'm trying to think of an analogy here. Star Wars, this, X-Wing fighter shooting things at you constantly. That's just ridiculous. Just say, please give me a moment, especially if you're introverted. This must just terrify you. It would me. People just firing questions at you before you could even duck. Again, this movie, a lot of gunfire. Anyway, just say, can you give me a moment? I'd like to think about that for a second. And just take a moment. It's you take control. If they are rapid firing questions at you, then take control of the interview and say, please give me a moment and I will answer you. Thank you. That's it.
Okay. The other question is there a specific strategy for someone applying for entry-level positions at a large lab?
That's a big question. Well, I mean, you could do, it sounds like a question I need to answer at another time because that's a big question. Did you do an internship? Do you know somebody who knows somebody? Again, networking is a whole nother webinar, which I'd love to do in the future. Put a message out there to everyone you know. Do you know somebody who knows somebody who works in this lab? You will never believe. I talk to strangers all the time. I make connections. You got to have a LinkedIn profile. You got to put yourself out there. Entry-level positions are probably the hardest positions to ever get. Sometimes it takes a little bit of luck. Sometimes it's who you know. Sometimes it's perseverance. It's just, you just keep pressing. Just keep pressing. Keep asking. Never stop asking for help from others. You just never know. Your yoga instructor might be married to the guy who runs the lab. You just do not know. So you've just got to tell every single person you possibly know you're looking and what you're looking for and get help.
Great. Good information. right. Are there any other final questions? We're at about 10 minutes left on the call.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm here, just 10 miles south of the capital. Just, yep, that's where I am, Springfield, Virginia. And you know, here's my contact information. So, you know, it's okay if you can't think of a question at the moment. That's totally fine. You know, again, l'esprit d'escalier. Oh, I wish I would have asked Lisa this. I wish I would have asked Lisa that. Well, you can ask Lisa whatever you want to. And please call me Lisa, even though, yes, I did earn that doctorate. It almost killed me, but I'm a strong person. I got through it with a little help from my friends. So here's my contact information, my website. Check me out. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm here for you. I really am.
Right. Well, we thank you, Lisa, for putting and participating in this webinar. Thank you for all those who signed on tonight. Good luck to all of you tomorrow who have interviews. Thank you for using this webinar as practice to get ready for your interviews tomorrow. Best of luck to you. And if you need any other career or professional development help, please contact the Alumni Association, the UA Career Lab. We're available to you as a free resource. We do webinars, we do career coaching sessions, we do Ask an Expert sessions, which are monthly virtual interactive career coaching opportunities for you to interact with resume help, LinkedIn profile help, or just any type of career questions you might have. So please make sure you take advantage of the resources. And with that, we're going to sign off. Thank you, Dr. Andrews. Any final words outside of that?
Well, no. Well, see, you don't need me in little old Washington, D.C. / Springfield, Virginia. You have it right there. If you're in Tucson, please use what's right there. They're there for you. Use it. And please, by all means, see Mission Impossible. It'll give you hope. And that's what I like. That's what I like to give my clients, confidence and hope. We need a little bit more of that, don't we? I think we do. So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Good luck tomorrow. Bye.